I thank the Deputy Prime Minister of Ireland for his statement. I now give the floor to His Excellency Adel Ahmed Al-Jubeir, Minister for Foreign Affairs of Saudi Arabia.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim.
On behalf of God, the merciful excellencies, Madam President of the General Assembly, Mr. Secretary General, ladies and gentlemen, may the peace of Allah be upon you. It is a great pleasure for me to speak and to convey congratulations to Madam Maria Fernanda Espinosa upon her election to the presidency of the 73rd session of the United Nations General Assembly. We wish you every success, ma'am, in your duties. I also wish to congratulate her predecessor, Mr. Miroslav Lajcik. President of the 72nd General Assembly. And of course, it would be remiss of me not to pay tribute to the tireless efforts undertaken by Mr. Antonio Guterres. Saudi Arabia is based on a noble heritage of principles, which include a focus on peaceful solutions to conflict while preventing escalation of conflict. We have undertaken mediation efforts. The peace agreement that was arrived at in Jeddah recently, under the sponsorship of the king between Ethiopia and Eritrea, which brought an end to the lengthiest conflict plaguing Africa. This sponsorship led to a historic summit in Djibouti following a 10-year rupture. This illustrates and attests to the political and critical role played by my country in the advancement of international peace and security. The Palestinian question has been pivotal for my country as well as for the Islamic world. We base ourselves on our conviction that Palestinian people have the right to build an independent Palestinian state on 1967 borders with Al-Quds al-Sharif, East Jerusalem as a capital, based on the resolutions and the Arab Peace Initiative. This we reiterate. We reiterate our call for stepped-up efforts to bring an end to this conflict, which is the longest that had plagued the region. Houthi militias depend on Iran. They continue to launch ballistic missiles manufactured by and from Iran to Saudi cities with 199 missiles. These activities are geared towards destabilizing safety of navigation in the Bab al-Mandab region and the Red Sea. We reiterate our commitment to a political settlement to the crisis in Yemen on the basis of the three references: our Gulf Initiative, the outcomes and conclusions of National Yemeni Dialogue, as well as UN Security Council resolutions. We shall continue to facilitate all humanitarian efforts to end the disaster plaguing the fraternal Yemeni peoples. We have sought to support the Yemeni economy, including recently with the establishment of a $2 billion fund based at the Central Bank of Yemen, which was ordered by His Majesty King Salman bin Abdul Aziz, the servant of the two sacred places, for a humanitarian support provided over the past 4 years in Yemen amounts to $13 million. Ladies and gentlemen, sir, terrorism and extremism are major challenges faced by the world. Our region has never been spared from the scourge of terrorist groups. We would call for and reiterate our call for greater international cooperation to end terrorism in all of its forms, to dry up funding sources of terrorists, to punish those who support terrorists and those who facilitate their activities in any way. The efforts of our kingdom to that end are clear. My country has set up institutions that oversee the fight against terrorism and extremism and help to facilitate those efforts. I would note the International Center for the Fight Against Terrorism and the Extremist Doctrines, ITEDAL is its name, the Islamic Military Coalition to Combat Terrorism, which includes 40 states, the UN, United Nations Center to Combat Terrorism, for which my country provided $110 million. Sir, Iran continues its terrorist activities and its aggressive conduct. The Kingdom of Saudi Arabia wishes to voice its support for the United States' recent strategy in dealing with Iran, including seriously dealing with its nuclear and ballistic missile programs and its support for terrorism. Saudi Arabia believes that in order to achieve peace and stability in the Middle East, what is necessary is to deter Iran in its subversive policies. Iran has trained terrorist militias, armed terrorist militias, has provided them with ballistic missiles. They have conducted assassinations against targeting diplomats, acts of aggression against diplomatic missions. This is a sectarianism and interference in the internal affairs of the region. Such aggressive conduct constitutes a glaring breach of all international laws and treaties, of Security Council resolutions, which renders Iran, Iran should be held accountable in the international legal system. Sir, ladies and gentlemen, as part of our resolute efforts, we continue to counter and combat terrorism in my country with the assistance of the United Arab Emirates, the Kingdom of Bahrain, the Arab Republic of Egypt, with a collective boycott against Qatar. This has now lasted for 15 months. A country which supports terrorism, which hosts extremists, which introduces hateful rhetoric through its media outlets, which fails to uphold its obligations under the 2013 Riyadh Agreement and the auxiliary Riyadh Agreement later in 2014. Conduct which Qatar continues to undertake. This has made the boycott a sine qua non. Mr. President, this 8th year of the Syrian crisis, we see a humanitarian landscape which requires us all to shoulder our responsibilities. My country has, from the very first day of the outbreak of the crisis, has sought to place the Syrian citizen, the Syrian individual, at the heart of our efforts. We have endeavored to ensure that Syrian people can arrive at their ambitions to live on their own soil. For this reason, on the basis of our convictions, we reiterate the need to respect Security Council Resolution 2254 to arrive at a political settlement in line with the Geneva I Declaration principles. Sir, Saudi Arabia is a country which supports legitimacy in Libya. We would recall the importance of upholding the Sakharat Agreement to resolve the crisis plaguing Libya. We would call for unity in Libya, for respect for its territorial integrity. My country was among the leading donors in terms of humanitarian and development assistance. We have moved to 3.7% of our GDP, thereby surpassing the quota called for by the United Nations, which was 0.7%. Sir, ladies and gentlemen, the international regime that has existed for centuries is rooted in national sovereignty. where the principle of respect for national sovereignty, non-interference in countries' domestic affairs, respecting international laws and customs, this is of overriding importance. There is no discussion of this. This is not up for discussion. Sovereignty is a red line that cannot be crossed. My country repudiates any and all intervention in domestic affairs for the aims of establishing any diktat by any country. The governments of countries with King Salman Abdulaziz and the Crown Prince, Prince Mohammed bin Salman and Prince Aziz, have placed the Saudi citizen at the heart of development, and this on the basis of Vision 2034 development to open the door to the future of our citizens. Thank you, madam. Thank you, sir.
Doy las gracias.
I would like to thank the Minister for Foreign Affairs of Saudi Arabia for his statement, and I would now like to give the floor to the Minister for Foreign Affairs and Trade of Hungary, Peter Sihato. You have the floor, sir.